want to touch that door.
Oh, that's a gorgeous
The
door.
sign system, please do not touch, so I want
So you automatically
Yeah,
want
wanna
to touch
touch.
it, yeah.
Yeah, do not
These
touch
are the kind of door we have. in
I
our
didn't
house.
care till that sign was there and all of a sudden.
to.
Minus the lizard.
Well, I'm about to say it's upside down, because the cross is upside down on it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
door is upside down.
It is.
Well, the Rollins owned it after the Kingsleys. Oh, you can come this way.
Oh, yeah, we can do this.
Look at the wavy glass, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, another door I can't touch.
Can I touch the sign?
Wide. This is my kind of house.
So I'll take you guys through the house. You guys So I'll take you guys through the house. I'll do like a 10-15 minute tour real quick, just orient you to the building. So this is the oldest standing plantation house here in Florida, built in 1798. Still standing, right? Despite all the hurricanes and fires and development, you know, for Florida. So I do want to provide a little historical context as to why this place even exists, how this building is even here. To understand that, we have to jump back a little bit further in time to 1763. Right? So 1763, we get the end of the 7 Years' War. Right? The end of that war is the end of that first Spanish period here in Florida. Florida was transferred from Spain to become the 14th and 15th British colonies. And when that happened, the border, the agreed upon border, was about 50 miles north near Brunswick, Georgia, at the Altamaha River. So like we talked about a little bit earlier, we had indigo plantations here for this 20-year period. 1783, at the end of the American Revolution, Florida is transferred back to Spain. Nobody wanted Florida. There's nothing here. So they said, well, but again, it's the United States at this point. The United States had just won a war and had the people and the power, and the money, and frankly the attitude to change the border on Spain. Said, hey, you can have Florida back, but the border is not going to be the Altamaha River. The border is going to be the St. Johns River. So Spain effectively lost thousands and thousands of acres that had been theirs, had been Spanish territory for about 150, 200 years by that point. And they wanted it back, right? Problem is, they had to get people to move to Florida first before they could make these claims. So Spain comes up with this policy. They said, hey, if you move to Florida, we'll give you free land. We'll give you 500 acres, right? All you gotta do is just pledge loyalty to Spain. Well, the only people willing to move to Florida were Americans who wanted this land for America. So for whatever reason, Spain goes ahead with this policy, and one of the people who moves down to Spanish Florida is a guy named John McQueen. And John McQueen gets the entirety of Fort George Island, which is not 500 acres, it's 1,000 acres. He gets 2 land grants because he's doing 2 jobs here. His first job is to establish a Sea Island cotton plantation. So on his way down south, he's stopping at these abandoned Spanish plantations, he's stealing enslaved people, he arrives here with about 300 people, and it's their job to essentially clear cut the island. Looked essentially as it does today. And they don't have, machinery, it's all human and animal labor, right? Slash and burn. His second job, John McQueen's second job, was to be the sheriff out here. So in the attic of this structure, there's 2 jail cells. And it was John McQueen's job to watch over these marshes, which have been historic sites of legal activity, right? You go back to the 1700s, Amelia Island, pretty major pirate base, right? 1800s, enslaved smuggling going on through these waters. 1890s, right? 1898, Spanish-American War would not have happened unless our sheriff at the time, Sheriff Broward, was not gun running through these marshes down to Cuba, avoiding U.S. Customs. And his house is just at the south end of the island, you can still see today. 1920s too, we know there's bootlegging and moonshining operations going on right out here. And today, typically when it's low tide, we'll get the boaters out here in the drinking and boating, right? So no legal authority here on Fort George. Never has been.
Plenty
right?
of them out there now.
Oh yeah. So,
Keep note of that.
this house though, was to change all of that. John McQueen was here to enforce Spanish legal authority, right? Arrest those who broke Spanish law. And the plan was for Spain was to essentially island hop, We're the first island north of the St. Johns River, the first island here in U.S. claimed land. And if Spain could get a foothold here, they could hop to Talbot, Amelia, Cumberland, St. Simons, all the way back up to that original territory line and reclaim their land. That was the goal. But it all depended on John McQueen. Too bad he wasn't a good sheriff, right? So he, a later owner, while making renovations, found a smuggler's den. So he was arresting people, sure, but he was taking their goods and selling them as contraband. So Spain found out and he had to skip town. There's a second owner here, we're going to skip over him. He leaves here in 1812. Kingsley arrives here in 1814. So the reason this place is called Kingsley Plantation, not the McQueen Plantation, is because in those 2 years between 1812 and 1814, this plantation was burned. We don't know by who, we don't know why. All we know is that the house survived and the northern section of the barn. Some of the tabby bricks where the benches are. When Kingsley arrived, he oversaw the renovations of this structure, the building of the kitchen house, the expansion of the barns, and the building of all the cabins. So, what you see today is the Kingsley Plantation, not the McQueen Plantation. So just probably provide a little bit of kind of context as to why this place is here. Any questions about that? It's kind of a lot. But... Okay, we're going to head into this next room here. So, this is your main room.
I know, you're quilting.
So this house here is your typical example of cracker architecture that we see here in the South, right? Because it's hot in Florida. It's hot today in April, right? It gets way worse in August, right? And even worse back then because there's no AC. But they built back then to account for not having air conditioning. They use the environment. So back then you get a lot of homes that are built right on the water, and you build with a lot of windows in mind. Because in doing so you can catch these river breezes, get these cross breezes and cool these places down. Now, I should say originally this little room that we clipped the corner of to get in here did not exist in 1790. You had this wall denies. You had this one big room with 4 corner rooms. So go from that room that we were just in, that southeast room, to this that northeast room there. We would actually have to leave the south porch, walk down around the structure, up the north porch here, and through that door. What that allowed was, one, you're getting your steps in for the day, right? You're getting your miles walked. But 2 is you now have a window on every wall of every room. So it didn't matter which way the breeze was blowing, right? You could catch that breeze and cool this place down. You could live in Florida without AC. Kingsley understood that, you know, all the owners understood that up until the 1880s. Then you start getting some renovations. One of the first things that they do, they add that side room that's over there. Horribly done, it's falling apart, it's coming over to this room now. This room's starting to collapse as a result. And it also cut off the cross breeze from that entire eastern side. So their solution in the 1880s was to add all those bay windows. Because the ocean breeze is typically the strongest breeze. And historically, this island would have bordered the ocean. So they add all those windows, which cools that half of the house down, but now it allows the sun every morning, 7 a.m., to start cooking this house and keeping it hot. Right? So very short-sighted renovations, including this wall here, which is really not the wall.
This is the,
So you can see, actually right here, the original layout of the structure. So, and then you can see all the renovations that we get. So again, we talked about that side room, all that, and then we get this staircase here. So this staircase is not original. The original staircase would have been out on the south porch, kind of right where that sign is. We went straight upstairs and spit you out where that window is. That window that's up here is the original doorway. Well, 1880s, you know, it's Victorian period, you know. You got to update your home. You can't be living in a 100-year-old house. It's got to look a little bit nicer. So they go to the Amazon of their day, Sears, and they buy this staircase. And so you can see where it's all been pieced together, you know, like a Lego set going upstairs. It's a beautiful staircase.
It is.
Problem is, whenever they installed it, they removed a support beam. So
Uh-oh.
this is why we cannot go upstairs. The upstairs is collapsing. Right? You're not missing much. It's 2 bedrooms. You get your office / bedroom over on the opposite side. Right above us would have been your main bedroom or your master bedroom. This is where we get this terminology from, or these plantation homes. And in like the 1920s, kind of right here, would have been a bathroom. But up where that vent is, you can see the access to the attic. So again, you're not missing too much. But if you look above you guys, you can see impacts that the staircase has had. We came in 1 year after a hurricane, and this entire section of ceiling had fallen. We left it because that answered one of our questions. You know, what's the original ceiling? Well, there's no reason for that to be painted white unless that was visible to guests. So you can see the floors and beams through your original second floor. And if you notice too, those floorboards are not like flush, right? There's gaps in them. That was on purpose. Again, hot air rises, and they're going to allow that hot air to go from the basement through these floors below that we're standing on. These are your original 1798 floors. Just dirt has gotten in between the gaps, all the way up to the very top and keeping this place cool. Well, then they added this plaster ceiling to prevent all of that, and I'm sure you can already feel it's a whole lot hotter in this room than it was in any room that was 10. And they realized it back then too. So their solution: go back to Sears, buy 2 more doors, and there you go. You can also see one more thing I want to point out. We're on the original flooring right here, 1798. You get this flooring, much thinner wood. That is 1880s. As we're making renovations, they realized you don't need 2 chimneys in the floor. You really need 1. So they took out a chimney and then added a new room right here. And that flooring in that room is 1980s. So that very bright one that you see is state park there.
C'était pour ventiler parce que c'est trop chaud, c'est un peu ça.
So the nails that were used to put the surface down, are they reinforced?
They would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you go to like the kitchen house, you can still
But that
see this
doesn't
flooring.
find
You find it attached to the table. You can still see
That's
this
a
flooring.
non-confined table because it has this curve on it. Interesting.